Hi, today in art we're trying a kind of painting called pointillism. We've already created some lines on each square that we have of colored paper, and we did a vertical line that goes straight up and down in the middle. We did a horizontal line that goes straight across the middle, and we did two diagonals that bisect this square into triangles. So we're going to use those four lines as guides. If you look at the examples on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that the pattern follows those lines of radial symmetry. And that's a line of symmetry that extends from the center and cuts the shape into equal parts. So in this case, we have a square and we have four lines dividing the square into triangles. We are going to try pointillism, which means we're going to use the point or the end of a pencil and the end of a paintbrush to do our dots. I've already put some white acrylic paint here on my tray, and now I'm going to use a tool called a brayer to spread it out so that it is very thin. It's really important that we get it thin, and you'll have to respread it a couple of times to make it thin enough so that it doesn't put a big gob of paint on the end of your pencil or your paintbrush, but instead it makes a very precise circle. If you look at all these circles, they're very precise. I'm going to start with white on my gold, and I looked at this example. Notice how it has a lighter color underneath and then a darker color on top, and some actually have 3 dots of paint, but I'm going to try to put a row of dots down each one of those lines and keep my spacing very equal. So I'm using a pencil. It's a new pencil, so the eraser is really round. It's not shaped more like a sphere as if I was rubbing the edges. And so I'm just going to dip it into the white paint. Now you'll see it leaves a spot, so I'm not going to go back and dip right there. I'm going to make sure the eraser is really colored well, and let me start right in the middle. So this is my first point. I could see it didn't print clearly, so I just pressed again and tried to get that space covered with white paint. I'm going to dip in a different place on my white to make sure I get the tip totally covered. And now I'm going to try to space 1, 2, 3. I'm going to space 3 dots. So let me divide this space in my mind. Let me put 1 in the middle. And then I'll do 1 on either side. I'm going to check and see if I can dip just 1 time. Well, I divided that pretty good, but you can see I didn't get enough paint right here, so I need to go back with my pencil. And now look, it's getting bunched up on the side of my eraser. If that happens, roll your eraser next to it right there and get the paint off the sides and try to focus on getting it in the middle. So let me come back right here and put a dot and a dot. Now next week, we're going to come back over those white dots and add a color on top. But I want to keep spacing my areas out. So if I get it on the side, I'm going to just roll my eraser like this and get it off the sides so that I get nice tight circles. Let me divide this line again. 1, 2, 3. And I want them to be as perfect as I can make with my circles. Now I'm going to take my brayer and let me roll it again so that I'm not dipping in those empty spaces. So again, I'm going to clean off the sides of my eraser, dip right in the middle, and then I'm going to divide my line. There's 1. Now I'm going to go above it and below it. And I'm twisting a little bit as I print. That's why some of these have a circular kind of look to them. Now going down the line. All right. Now I have my 2 diagonal lines. I want to do the same thing with those. Now these have a different spacing because that diagonal line is actually longer. Get the paint off the side. And we're going to hopefully get to use two colors today. The other color I have is a gold color. And with the gold color, I want to do dots around my border. Since I have gold paper, I thought it would look nice if I had a dotted border. Going around it. Now this just gives me a starting point for my design. Hopefully you're looking at the ones on the board and you see how they're layering colors. Or there might be other kinds of lines in between these basic lines, the diagonals, vertical and horizontal line. Alright, so now I'm looking at my piece. Before I go on to the other paint, any dots that don't really have a dot, like this one right here, I want to go back and I'm going to add another dot of the white acrylic. And you might have to go ahead with your table group and roll the brayer back and forth in the paint to spread it out again. Don't forget to hold it down so the paint doesn't stick to it and pull it up like what just happened to me. Now I didn't do this the first time around because I was really focused on the spacing. Now that I have the spacing figured out, I'm trying to darken, or not darken, but make my circles more complete. Hey, just like taking the EOGs, right? You have to make sure all of your circles are complete and your marks are dark. But the main thing is I'm trying really hard not to smear my circles. I want them to stay looking like a circle because that is the idea with pointillism. Pretty much all of your paint strokes are circular in shape or like a dot. Alright, so I'm done with my pencil now and I'm done with the white now. So now I'm going to try the gold and to try to do dots around the perimeter. Now I put a lot of gold on this tray, more than I should have, so I'm just going to spread out the side right there. And now I'm going to use a small paintbrush and I'm going to use the tip down here. So again, I'm just going to dip it into the gold. And then I want to do a row of dots. 1, 2, 3, more paint. 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to make my 6th dot a bigger dot. So I'm going to swirl it some. I'll keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That one's going to be a bigger dot. So even though I kind of drew with a circle on that one, I can see that I'm following my design and I'm keeping my spacing pretty consistent. That's pretty important to me, is the spacing of my design. I'm estimating distance the whole time I'm doing this. So I'm just doing my dots that are in the corners a little bit larger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 in the corner is going to be a bigger one. And again, if any of my dots aren't complete, I go back and make sure my circles are complete. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.